Hey everyone, it's Nate Valenti with NJ Valenti Art, and in today's video we are going to vector ink the butterfly we drew in Pixel Persona. I'll have a link in the description below where you can download the file and ink over the butterfly I drew, or you can work over one of your own. So to get started, let's set up our workspace a bit. I'll have a link to my vector inking video, Stroke versus Fill, in the description as well. But I'm going to come down here and create a vector layer by clicking on this icon here. It says Add Layer. It looks like a page with a little plus sign on it. Now I will, I've got my, if you come up here to View, I've got my rulers on. And what we could do is by clicking anywhere on this side of the ruler, doesn't make a difference what number, just anywhere. If you click and drag, you'll create a center line, and we'll drag that right to the middle of our butterfly. And then what I want to go ahead and do is I want to make sure that snapping is turned on up here, which it is. And when we come into the snapping menu, I want to make sure that Snap to Guides is selected. Okay, with that set up, I'm going to select my pen tool. I'm going to go over here to the stroke, and I'm going to make sure that we've got a black stroke. And I'm going to zoom right in here, and I will start here. Now if you hold Control, you can control these handles and pull this back a little bit. That way we get a nicer half circle there. So we'll close that out. I'll come up here to the stroke panel. Right now it's 0.02 size for the stroke. And I want to go ahead and just bump that up a little bit. 2 looks good for right now. If we want to adjust this at all, we can come over here to our node tool A, select the node that we want to work with, and we can adjust the handles as we like. All right, back to the pen tool. Go ahead and continue. Now, what you need to do is you need to close each one of these off after you create a line, and you can do that by double clicking on it. If not, if it's left open and you go to continue a line somewhere else, it'll just add a new node still connected. So we want to go ahead and make sure that we terminate that line there. Well, this part should be pretty straightforward. We're just going to go ahead and follow our lines here. Okay. Come back out over here for this side. When creating a circle or half circle, it's best to, we start and then you want to hit the center or the top apex of the circle itself with the node before coming into this other section here. That'll give you a more well-rounded half circle or circle. I'm going to do a little adjusting to the nodes here with the node tool A. Selecting the pen tool again, I want to make sure that I close that off. Here too is an antenna. Actually, I want to back that up, and I want to do, let's start the antenna from this side here. I'm going to come out, pull that node back just a little bit, and come down here. Give that a little bit of a shape there. I'll pull the node back even further and line that up. Something like that. So what we can go ahead and do now with those lines, if I select my Move Tool V, I can select all the lines at once. Let me bump this up to, let's try 3. And now what I could do, if I hold Alt to duplicate the lines, and then Shift in order to keep them directly in line with each other. I will come up here and flip horizontal, continuing to hold Shift. Once I get there to the center, it'll automatically snap into place due to our snapping settings and our center line here. Well, just like that, we've got the basic outline of the butterfly. Now we can come in here and start working on some of these little details. The pen tool again. Come up here, and in order to get a nice point, if we just go ahead and click that, it'll take away the other node and it'll give us more of a point. All right, we'll go ahead and continue doing that down here. If you need to move the node, if you press the space bar, you can move this node. All right, now that, I don't want, this line here is pretty thick. So if you look at the thickness of this inside line, it is the same thickness as our outline stroke there. They're both 3-point. And what I want to go ahead and do is I want to make the details on the inside of his body a smaller stroke line. So we can try something like half. We'll go with 1.5. And then this will make it a little more subtle. It'll fit the detail of his body a little bit better. You don't want the inside lines to compete with the bolder outline of the butterfly's body itself. Come up here. I'll use some ellipse tools for these little things here. It's got a fill, so we'll go back over here and cancel out that fill. Also come into the stroke panel, that is a 1.5 stroke. Now with the A tool selected, and I've got my ellipse shape here, if I want to manipulate my ellipse outside of just squishing it or stretching it, what I can go ahead and do is I can come up here and click on Convert to Curves. If it is not up here, you can always come into Layer, Convert to Curves. Now by doing this, I can now manipulate each of the nodes. So each node now will have its set of handles, and I can push and pull these around as I'd like to. I just want to go for something that's a little more organic. It's got a little bit of shape to it. I'm going to downsize this just a little. Just something to play around with. Nothing too crazy. Now I'll also go ahead and Alt and drag the shape to duplicate it. Kind of turn it around a bit. Make it a little bit longer. Something like that. Back to our pen tool. We'll go ahead and start on these lines here. Now when I'm meeting at the center here, I want to keep these node handles as horizontal, as level as possible, straight across. That way when I flip it to the other side, it'll be a nice, even, smooth curve there. I'm going to go ahead and close that off as well. That way I can continue on down. Pulling that node handle back as I need. These lines here, I'm trying to curve with the body and give it a little bit of a curve here and there. This will help kind of show some form on the butterfly. It'll be subtle, but once we get some color in there, it should hopefully emphasize it just enough. Again, the space bar if you need to move that node around a little bit more. And again, after the fact, we can always come back in here with our node tool, A, and move any of these around, adjust them however we may need, especially after we flip them to the other side. If we see that there's any adjustments or anything we might want to change, we can go ahead and do that. All right. So I'll go ahead and start with these down here. selecting them all. Again, Alt to duplicate and Shift to keep in line. And that snapping will take care of the rest. Now I want to deselect these two lines here, and that one as well. I could have done all the detail on one side before flipping to the other, but I want to show you the flipping procedure as much as possible. So Alt and Shift, flip horizontal up top. And there we go. The inside of the the butterfly's body is complete, and we can go ahead and move on to the wings. So whenever working, especially digitally, I always like to organize my layers. So I've gone ahead and named our layer 1 here, body, for the full body of the butterfly. I'm going to come back down here and create a new layer, which will now be the layer where we will have our wings. So selecting my pen tool, continuing on much like we did with the body. I'll come up here at our starting point, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom out a little bit here to make this large curve. All right, I'm going to hold Control and pull back the handle here. And we go ahead and click that to get rid of the handle on this side. And I'll double click to close, and it'll come right down here and continue on. The shorter the handle, the sharper this turn will be. So, taking a look, I can always come in and adjust anything I may want with the node tool. For now, that looks pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and select both of these lines. So with this one selected, I'll hold Shift and click on that one. I'm going to come up to my stroke. It is on 4. Let's bump that up to 5. I want it to be just a little bit thicker for right now at least. Alright, and there you go. I'll go ahead and with both of these still selected, holding Alt and Shift, I will flip horizontal, hold Shift, come in here and line those up a bit better. Something like that. Now I notice these down here, I'm going to come in with my node tool A and just adjust these a bit here. Alright, so that gives us the outline to the wings and the body of our butterfly. So what we can go ahead and do is start working on the details of the wings now as well. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and we'll name this layer Wing Outline, and I'm going to go ahead and create a new layer. Now, this new layer can sit under the wing outline or above it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start inking the shapes that we have on the inside. So pen tool. Again, for a long curve like this, we're going to zoom out just a little bit to be able to make that curve. Pull this handle back. And I'm going to come to, again, the apex, the topmost point of this curve here, and then back to the other side. I'm going to come in with the node tool and adjust this just a bit. Holding spacebar will get rid of the nodes and handles and allow you to kind of get a clear view of what you've got. So that's pretty good. With the pen tool, go ahead and just continue making these shapes. Control to pull that back a little bit. And the more you practice with the pen tool, the better you'll get at making these curves. Now, I'm leaving these all with a stroke weight for now, and I'll probably come back here in a little bit and probably take the stroke off And we'll probably go with just full color here, but for now, to see what we're doing and keep track of where we're at, we'll keep the stroke weight on. Pull that handle way back. Now, for certain illustrations, I will tend to take this approach where I'll do the line art and then I do the vector inks separate from my vector colors. And that's dependent on the project. Sometimes, in a case, if I am using this method here, I may go ahead and color these fills in. But for this method, it's similar to a comic book style method where you're working from the pencil lines to inks and then adding color after the fact. So it's just a different way of approaching the process. And the more you practice and experiment with it, the more you'll find what you like and what you don't like and how you want to approach your drawings and illustrations in particular. I'm just continuing on. Now this shape here I do want to connect, and again we'll be getting rid of the stroke weight later, so any overlapping there won't be a big deal once we get to coloring it. Alright, moving along pretty nicely so far. Maybe this one last shape here, and I think the rest we'll be able to use our ellipse tool for. Let's see if we can get some decent looks here with the ellipse tool. Holding Alt here to duplicate them as I move them around. Trying to create some nice variety between these. Okay, that looks pretty nice. So we'll go ahead and just kind of tweak these up here a little bit. Once you kind of get going, the process moves fairly nicely. And again, you learn little shortcuts and things that you that fit your style and your own personal workflow. So anything that I present here is really just going to kind of give you an idea of how I approach things. Then you could take what you like or may not like about my particular approach and make it your own and add to your process as well. So what I'm going to go ahead and do now, I'm going to take all the details on the inside of the wings here. Make sure I deselect the outline and anything else that I may have grabbed accidentally. So now I've got just the details selected here. I will go ahead and duplicate these, Alt and Shift. Alright, just like that. Now what I'll go ahead and do is, starting at the top here, I'll select everything in layer 1, which is all the details that we have in the butterfly's wings. I'm going to go ahead and change this to, let's just make it 0.5. I'm going to come down here and I'm going to turn off my pixel layer. Also go ahead and get rid of my center line at this point. So here you can see we have our vector lines, vector inking for the butterfly. All separated out. We have a layer for the body and the inside elements of the body. We then have a separate layer for the outline of the wings and a separate layer for all of the details in the wings here. We'll go ahead and probably get rid of the strokes on these inner details and add just color, but we'll get to that in the next step. In the next video, we will add color to our butterfly. I will provide the files for you to follow along, or you can use one that you have created yourself. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you found this video helpful. Let me know what part of the process you enjoy most, and please like, subscribe, and don't forget to hit the bell for more tutorials coming soon. Until next time.